Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video, and this is another, sort of very late prediction. This one is my predictions of where teams and drivers will position in the Formula One World Championship this year. Of course, of course, as I'm recording this on a Monday night, the Bahrain Grand Prix obviously was running one, but yeah. So I know this might be quite late, but I just said never late than never, really. Better late than never. And also, just to mention about these standing my predictions here for the drivers and constructors championships. I actually did these before the Bahrain Grand Prix, so yeah. So you might say, oh, you had this team high, or you had this team low. Well, yeah. So yeah. So I've done these before this past week, for the events of this past weekend. So yeah. So let's firstly get into the drivers championship to see where I place where. So I'll start from the bottom up. I go from the bottom up, I should say. I'll have this place in front of me. Well, basically, let's just say coming in 19th and 20th. 20th and 19th, I should say, is the two Williams drivers of Logan Sargent and Alex Albon. I'm not really expecting them to do much. I think said that in my season preview video that I did a couple of days ago. Apologies for my dog barking in the background, by the way. I'm not expecting them to do much, really. Just not expecting them really to not do it. Just that's all I could say. Just not expecting them to do all that much again. Maybe they might slightly improve and maybe slightly get more points than what they did in 2022, but I don't see them, doing that I don't see them doing that much in 2022. Maybe finish more inside the top 10 more, from, what was it, 3 times I believe it was I said in 2022. So yeah. In 18th position, I have got Zhou Guan Yu. I think that I won't be surprised if Alfa Romeo do maybe the opposite of what they did in 2022. Where in 2022 they had a very good start to the year, mostly due to Valtteri Bottas, but Zhou Guan Yu obviously claiming his first points in his first race this time last year, but unfortunately that did not. But then when it came to the second half of the year, I think I said this in my season preview. I think they had 2 top 10 finishes in the whole second half of the season. So they really did drop off, and I think I said this. I think they had like a 30 odd point start over Aston Martin, and they ended the season, and Aston Martin, I should say, ended the season level on points with Alpha for 6th in the championship. So that just solidifies really just how much they dropped off, and I think that drop off will continue. But I believe that they will be the opposite. I think they'll start the season slow, but they will catch up. But they will, as the season goes on, I think they'll improve the car and gradually make it quicker. But I don't see Zhou Guan Yu really not doing that much. Really, he might get a couple of points, but I don't see him doing that much really. Surprisingly, as does the only Australian in the field, in Oscar Piastri. Not that it's not going to be his own. Some of it's not going to be his own doing. But I think it's just going to be the exact same thing. It's been happening to every single Australian ever since Mark Webber. I mean, it happened. It happened to Ricardo when it was at Red Bull, and now it will probably most likely happen now to Piastri again with a car that's probably. I'm not saying that it's going to be like what Lando Norris towards a Lando Norris car, but probably close to it, really, because of course, and you have to respect that. I mean, Norris has been at the team longer, so obviously he's gonna that car is gonna favour him, but I think I'm not expecting Piastri to do this. I mean, I know, but some rookies have to start somewhere, really, in their rookie season, really. So yeah, I think he'll finish up in 17th. 16th, I reckon. I got Nico Hulkenberg. I think he'll get some solid some shock results. Maybe like a 6th or maybe a 5th position, maybe in one of the races. Maybe do like what Kevin Magnussen did last year, and that is, get better. As the year, I would see, but maybe see him maybe do better as the year goes on, because obviously yes, he did some part-time running in 2022 in the first few races when Sebastian Vettel was out after testing positive in the first couple of races in 2022. Other than that, he hasn't raced full time since 2019, really. Also I forgot, in 2021 he did, in 2020, he did do some part-time races with both Racing Point and I believe Renault, maybe? I don't know. I think it was only at Racing Point, which he did very well in those performances. So he has had a few drives in F1 since his last full-time drive in 2019, and this is a big year for Hulk. Otherwise, if he doesn't have a good year, really, then he probably won't be re-signed, because there's probably a whole lot of there's probably some very, very talented young Ferrari Academy drivers that Ferrari would want to keep in their Ferrari built cars when they're ready to go up to Formula One. And of course, Haas is one of those. Of course, we all know, it's publicly known that they have this big relationship with Ferrari at the moment. So it's probably a big year for Hulkenberg, really. If he doesn't perform and doesn't improve throughout 2023, then he probably might get his seat it might replace his seat, because I think he's on a 1-year deal. I might have to check that. I think he's on a 1-year deal there. Forgot to mention this at the start. I do have a quiet voice because it is nearly about 20 to 11 at night on Monday as I'm recording this. Excuse me if I have a quiet voice, because I don't want to get in trouble here. So moving on, P15, I've got Yuki Tsunoda, and unfortunately I don't see him having a good season this year. Like, everybody thought that he was the next driver, really, to go through the ranks and be up to the Red Bull senior team, but now I don't see that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't see that in Yuki, and he's probably on. I would have to assume that he's probably on Finnish, even AlphaTauri, that maybe one bad season, a second terrible season in a row could possibly mean the end of him at AlphaTauri. Could possibly see the end of him, and possibly maybe the end of his time in Formula One, which is a shame because he proved in his rookie year in 2021, even at that controversial season finale at Abu Dhabi, that he is capable of big results when he got that fourth place finish. I know it was overshadowed by the very, very controversial finish, but he was the underrated driver of that race, really, and everybody thought after that he would go to another level and have more big results like that in 2022, which he didn't do. And maybe with a bad 2023, maybe everybody's tempered down their expectations on him. Maybe that would mean that he is a lot better now that with the pressure now off him, have a big season. But I don't see him doing that. I believe that I think these predictions, I believe he will be out. I think he'll be out of AlphaTauri, and I believe someone like Liam Lawson maybe, who is more than ready to be in Formula One full time in 2024, could replace him there. No doubt about it, and it'll be even more embarrassing for him if someone like his rookie teammate Nick De Vries beats him in the World Championship, which I predicted this to happen. In 14th position, I've got Lance Stroll. Stroll has normally been operating throughout his whole career, basically since 2019 when he arrived at that Racing Point team, slash Aston Martin team, which of course, if you guys know, is owned by his father Lawrence. He's been operating around that mid-table period, like from 11th through to 14th or 15th, sort of most of the time. He's not been like terrible like he was in his final year at Williams, mostly due to the car and the team rather than Stroll himself that year, by the way. But I believe Stroll, that's where he's been operating, I believe, and I won't be surprised to be there as well. Maybe even I could have put him a lot higher, maybe towards that 12th, 11th, maybe close to the top 10. Basically judged by what Aston Martin did in Bahrain this past weekend, but you never know with that. So yeah, which by the way, about that I will film a video on that, basically. So I expect him to really, him to be where he's been normally throughout this. In 13th position, unlucky for some, is Valtteri Bottas, and I didn't want to put him lower because that would be harsh, but I didn't want to put him higher. I couldn't put him higher or lower than 13th, to be honest. I think just like 2022, I think he'll score the bulk of Alfa Romeo's points, just like what he did in 2022. But I think, as I said about Zhou Guanyu, I believe he will, even though he'll have a slow start compared to 2022, and basically gradually building the season. And as the end of the season comes, that's when he maybe comes into closer to maybe the seventh best, the best of the rest behind the big three. So that's what I think. That's where, as I said, I couldn't be any higher or lower really for Bottas in my opinion. So that's why I put him in 13th. In 12th, I've got Kevin Magnussen. I think K-Mag He started the season on fire. He had that top 5. I think it was a top 5 finish in this time last year in the season opener in 2022. But unfortunately, as the season went on, and just like what I said with Alpha, I'm expecting him to score the bulk of Haas's points. I think, in my opinion, not that I'm going to say Nico Hulkenberg's going to score. Like as I said about him, I'm expecting him to produce maybe a shock result, maybe like a 6th or a 5th at some point during the year. I think Matt K-Mag is going to score bulk of his points and maybe produce a couple of more shock results like he did at Sao Paulo when he scored that sprint race pole, which surprised everybody as well. But I believe, for me at least, I think he'll finish in 12th, 11th. Best of the rookies. Shockingly enough, some people have been talking about Piastri as a big deal, but I believe Nick De Vries is gonna be that rookie of the year. It will be the best rookie out of the 3, basically because he's got something that Piastri and Logan Sargent don't have, and that is F1 racing experience. Obviously, he did race one race with Williams, replacing an ill Alex Albon at Monza in 2022. I think he qualified inside the top 10 and finished inside the top 10 as well, which surprised everybody at that Grand Prix, which basically caused him to basically be signed by AlphaTauri for 2023. That's despite him not being in the Red Bull fold, pretty much. And I think he's probably one of the first to probably be signed by one of the Red Bull teams in Formula One outside of that family, which is a testament to De Vries' talent, really, and it will be. I think it'll be just be an absolutely unbelievable story if he has a big season this year, and for example, Red Bull gets rid of Sergio Perez, for example, and then replaces him with Nick De Vries alongside Max Verstappen. That will be a massive story, to be honest. But yeah, I think that will be the case, I believe. That won't be the case, I believe. But I don't think he'll have that big season where he'll finish at 9th or 8th or maybe 7th in the championship. But I believe that 11th, I believe, will be a good starting block for him in his first full season in Formula One. Cracking the top 10, we have Pierre Gasly in his first season in Alpine. We all know how good Alpine were and probably could have been in 2022 if it wasn't for, it was basically a season of what ifs, really, for Alpine. I probably didn't say it in my season preview. It was basically a season of what ifs for Alpine, because what if Alonso didn't have that hydraulic problem that caused that crash in qualifying in Australia, where he was probably on the verge of possibly even, at worst, qualifying on the front row. What if he didn't have all those retirements from points paying positions? They would have. I know. You probably would have said calm down, but I'm not saying that probably would have been closer to Mercedes, but closer to the big 3, but maybe be in their own group, basically, ahead of the other midfield runners in the Constructors Championship. So yeah, and then also Gasly, he was sort of probably held back by a lackluster, lackluster's not the right word. Not a good AlphaTauri in 2022. and now he's gone to Alpine with an all French team, a French team, mate. And Esteban Ocon, and yeah, and hopefully with a faster car, hopefully more reliability, hopefully gets much better results, hopefully for much more positive results for Pierre in 2023. In ninth position, I have Fernando Alonso in his first season at Aston Martin. Probably, as I said about Stroll, probably I should have put him a lot higher after what happened this past weekend when he did finish on the podium. Yeah, I think for me, just I believe I think I won't be surprised, to be honest, if I've got this wrong, and maybe I should have put him as the best of the rest in 7th, or maybe even in 6th, but I didn't want it to be unrealistic by putting him in 6th and then putting Perez in 7th. But I believe 9th was probably the best I could have put him at the time before the Bahrain Grand Prix, in 9th position. In 8th is Lando Norris. I put Lando Norris. I think Lando, I think it'll be, it's pretty much going to be the carbon copy for McLaren of 2022. It's because having an Australian driver that is not going to be used to the car, how the car handles, and the only one that's probably going to get the most out of this difficult car for McLaren, especially for these opening races until their actual car is out on track, is Lando. No other way of describing it, really, I believe. I don't see them perhaps finishing on the podium like what Lando did at excuse me. And I think it was at Imola, I believe, last year. That was his only podium in 2022, and McLaren's only podium that year. But maybe have some solid top 10 finishes on days where probably the car's not suited to him. But just his talent, really, that just gets the best out of the car on the day, and probably gets to a top 10 finish. So I think Norris will figure in the top 10 again in the World Championship. In 7th, I've got Esteban Ocon as the best of the rest in 7th. I sort of did this thinking that maybe Alpine would improve on their reliability, have a better car, which at the Bahrain Grand Prix they didn't, pretty much. And then obviously Ocon having an 8th place finish in the championship last year. Hopefully he'll improve on that, or make it one step better, and perhaps maybe finish in 7th, and maybe challenging some of the top drivers in the championship. But 7th was as high as I can put him, and maybe I could have put him in. I probably could have swapped him at maybe swap him, Ocon, and him, Alonso, and Norris around, and maybe put Fernando in 7th, and then put Ocon in 8th, and then Norris in 9th, 5th, or I think the car, if McLaren's not going, is going really bad, going even badly than we all think. But I believe I'll put Ocon in P7. So entering the big three, in 6th position I have got Sergio Perez, because once again, for the 3rd year, I think that car is basically built. We all know by now that we've known it for the last, probably for the last maybe 4 or 5 years, that Red Bull has been it's been built for Max Verstappen to win races and world championships. I mean, Ricardo and most of his teammates just haven't had a fighter shot at him. I mean, I know Perez. I know he's had a couple of pole positions and has won a couple of races. But of course, Ricardo previously he failed. Gasly failed. Albon failed as well. And then Perez, obviously, even though, yes, he finished third in the championship, but it's been a fail so far. And could this be a possible reason that maybe Perez, if he wants if he wants to be with another top team, or maybe go backwards down a peg, maybe be back if he thinks he's more competitive, if in amongst probably a midfield, back in the midfield, then maybe he might leave Red Bull possibly a year early. I believe he has a contract until the end of next season, I believe. So he's got 1 year to go after this year on his contract at Red Bull. I won't be surprised if results for him don't go as bad, and then Verstappen wins the world championship again, for example, that he'd go, I think I've run my course here and wasn't as successful as I thought, I'll go off to another team. I won't be surprised by that, but yeah, so I believe Perez in 6th. In 5th, I've got Carlos Sainz, not surprisingly, the 5th and 6th base teams, not surprisingly. I think Sainz, he might maybe claim a win or two for the year, but I don't see him, doing much. I think, the Ferrari is basically based on Leclerc, basically, it's not surprisingly, that's what the top teams do. Red Bull has had a car based around Verstappen for years now. Same too with Mercedes, with Hamilton, and then of course Ferrari with Leclerc for the last few years, ever since Leclerc's been at the team, even when Vettel was there, and then of course recently Carlos Sainz. So it's basically really no expectations really on Carlos. So excuse me, I don't see him, trying to win, trying to be up there fighting for the world championship in amongst the top 3. I think that's where he is basically there. Now, this one is going to shock a lot of people. In 4th position, I've got Charles Leclerc. And the real reason by that is as I said in the season preview, I do not buy one bit about the hype around Ferrari. I don't buy it one bit. Let me put this down for a second. So, I don't believe it because, as I said this in my season preview, and I'm going to say it again. They normally do this. They have massive amounts of hype. They win, just like they did last year. They won a couple of races. Then eventually, the old thing called reliability comes into play as an issue for them. And then basically, by the time they get that sorted, the title is gone. Both titles are gone. It happened last year. By the time they finally did sort those out, Verstappen and Red Bull were long gone. Pretty much. And it was too late. And they've done this for so many years. Why do I think do we all expect that this year's going to be different? Because they got a more powerful power unit. That doesn't mean anything. I know Red Bull's been getting away with that because obviously they've won both drivers and constructors championship last year with a much more powerful Honda power unit, which basically Honda didn't get much credit for in the most part of 2022. But as I said, I don't believe in the Ferrari hype, and it's gonna let both their drivers down. And I won't be surprised if Leclerc doesn't finish in the top 3 in the championship. I don't see it really. In third position in the championship, I've got George Russell. I see him perhaps do a coming of age year where he's sort of in there in amongst the title fight most of the year, but he doesn't end up getting the job done in the end. Maybe he gets knocked out of the title race, maybe with a couple of races left or a race left or something like that. And I think for me, and I think at the start of pre-season testing, I just led to the resumption that with the new rules, with the slightly changed rules, to decrease the possibilities of porpoising with these cars, which was a massive problem, especially with the Mercedes in 2022. Just Mercedes going to shoot back up again. Which it didn't look likely at the Bahrain Grand Prix. But I think Russell, I believe, is coming of age season. I think I think for me at Mercedes, I think it'll take time for George. I think, in my opinion, much like Verstappen did, where from 2016 to 2020, he had glimpses that he could do what he's done in 2021 and 2022, but of course the dominance of Mercedes was all too much. I believe it'll be the same again, where just get these little ingredients and stir them up, and then eventually, bang, he'll get it all together and be England's next world champion. I believe so. So that's why I think it'll be George's time where he basically announces himself as one of the, if he hasn't already, probably he will announce himself this year as one of the sport's most elite drivers in the championship. In my opinion, just George, I rate him very highly, to be honest. And I have been for ages, really. So we're going down to the final 2, and we all know who these two are. I believe it'll be Verstappen and Hamilton 2.0 in 2023. We saw it in 2021. We all know we're going to see it again in 2023. We saw a bit of it in 2022, but obviously at the US Grand Prix. But obviously it was much dominated by Verstappen. I believe that. And I believe that I think it will again go down in the last race. I don't think it'll be that dramatic as it was in 2021, but I believe at the end of the day, I think Max Verstappen is going to be a 3-time Formula 1 world champion, and his performance at the Bahrain Grand Prix this past weekend just backs up my claims that he's going to be even better. That RB18 was absolutely dominant. I mean, as I said, 17 wins, 15 of them from Verstappen, and some talks are that this RB19 is probably might be maybe even better than the RB18, which if it's true, I mean, it is a warning sign to all the other Formula 1 teams that probably we're going to be expecting another Red Bull dominated season like we did in 2022. I think much like because normally I think just like there's normal, because I think I rate this as more like the Vettel era, where in the Vettel dominant era from 2010 to 2013, I mean, there was the 2 seasons 2011 and 2013 where it absolutely dominated, but then there was 2010 and 2013 where sorry, not 2011, 2013, 2010 and 2012, that basically we all know what happened in 2010. You know, he was out of contention most of all for the final race, and he ended up winning. He ended up winning it, and the others in front of him, like Alonso, when Webber didn't finish high enough for what they needed to, and he ended up winning the title. And same again in 2012. He was lucky they ended up didn't have worse damage on it in his lap one crash. He ended up, the best time, he ended up winning the world championship, his third straight in a row. So I'm probably thinking that, I'm not saying that will happen with Hamilton and Verstappen again, but I believe that they will. I think for me, Verstappen, I think that we're in that sort of era with Red Bull and Verstappen, that and what we don't know is Verstappen. He's still in his mid-20s. He's still in his mid-20s. This, unless he loses the hunger, it loses the interest in Formula One, that this could go on for years, really. And no matter how close Russell gets in the future, or Leclerc gets in the future, or possibly maybe Norris gets in the future, Verstappen's going to come out on top. So as I said, the Bahrain Grand Prix was a bit of a warning sign, really, for the rest of the paddock, really, that Red Bull are going to be here to dominate 2023 for sure. Very quickly, going to move into the Constructors Championship and then my bold predictions before I sign off. In 10th position, obviously, I said this would go to Williams. I won't be surprised, as I said, if they score more points this year compared to last year, but I still predict them to finish on the bottom. Alfa Romeo, I believe they'll, even though I think that they will have a better second half of the year, I think their first half of the year, I think will catch up to them in the end, and they'll finish up ninth in the championship. Haas in 8th, I believe. Probably could have put him above AlphaTauri in 7th. Yes, I did put AlphaTauri in 7th, but put him in there as well in 7th. AlphaTauri, I couldn't go higher than 7th really for AlphaTauri, and I believe that there's the possibility really that they could score way more points and maybe have Yuki Tsunoda having score some pretty decent results really. So I'll put him in 7th. In 6th, I've got McLaren. I believe they'll take a massive step back in 2022. In 2023, sorry, after 2022. A shame, really, after all their hard work from 2019 to 2021 of working their way back up the Constructors Championship ladder, and now they're heading their second really, second down the ladder, really, second time heading down the pecking order, really, after all the McLaren Honda years, which is a bit of a shame, really, for McLaren. And I won't be surprised if probably about 95% of their points, or maybe close to 100% of their points, will be scored by Lando Norris. I will not be surprised by that. In 5th, I've got Aston Martin. Most of these points probably, as I said, will probably go to Fernando Alonso, but maybe Lance Stroll might pitch in, maybe with a couple of shock results, maybe a couple of 6th or a couple of 5th place finishes during the season. But I think that Aston Martin, I believe, will finish in 5th. In fourth, I put Alpine. I believe they had a much more, on paper, they have a much more stronger driver lineup than Aston Martin did. That's what pushed me over the line in putting them in fourth in the Constructors Championship. If I based this off of this last weekend, maybe I could have definitely put Aston Martin up there in fourth. In third, with the big three down in third, I've got Ferrari. I don't think, as I said, I don't believe in the hype at all surrounding Ferrari, because it normally dies off after a while. So yeah. In second place, I've got Red Bull. I think predicting having a lackluster season in sixth in the championship probably would cost them the Constructors Championship at the end of the day. And I'm just going to say it now, I think the Constructors Champions for the ninth time in 10 years in this V6 Turbo Hybrid era is going to be Mercedes, and solidifying themselves as the greatest team in this Turbo Hybrid era since 2014. Yes, I know, and they had that one minor blimp in last year. Obviously, we all know they only won the one race in 2022, but I believe that they will win multiple races in 2022. Well, this was based off of pre-Bahrain, and we all know what happened in Bahrain before them. So yeah, and I think for me, as I said, I think most of the points are going to be from Verstappen, and I believe that that Perez is going to cost the team their second consecutive Constructors Championship in the end of the day. So yeah, so that was my Constructors Championship. Finally, one last thing will be my bold predictions. So the first one, all teams to make Q3 more than once. Yes, even Williams to make Q3 more than once. So yeah, I think for some reason I think the field's gonna be stacked up even closer than what they were in 2022. I think in my opinion, judging by the wind tunnel restrictions to other teams, that sort of stuff, I believe it will bring them a lot closer. I believe this year. It probably won't have I was predicting probably wouldn't have the desired effect this year, but I won't be surprised if this year we'll see more of, teams in qualifying where teams qualify third, fourth, fifth that are not Mercedes, Ferrari, or Red Bull teams. So yeah. Number two, this one's not surprising. I think this one's not bold really. Ferrari's hype to die quicker than expected. Because I don't see, as I said, I've said this so many times in this video, I'm going to say it again, I do not believe in the hype surrounding Ferrari all because they have a powerful engine. I don't believe it really. They need a lot more than a powerful engine to be a title winner. Red Bull have proved it for so many years. Proved it last year. You do need more than a powerful engine. Of course, they have the best aero guru in the business, and Adrian Newey at their disposal. So of course they have the best aero in the field. They have the most powerful engine in the field. Yes, it's not the most reliable, but it is the most powerful. And with that combination of a good car, fast car, powerful engine, that's obviously going to be the recipe for winning world championships. And I don't see Ferrari having all the ingredients for that success yet. I don't see that for Red Bull really. For Ferrari, sorry. There. Number three, this one is bold. But the fourth one is going to be even bolder, probably for me, in my opinion. Sergio Perez to leave Red Bull a season early. Now, we all know that Red Bull car is built towards Max Verstappen. We all know that. We've all known that for the last 4 or 5 years. But what pushed me over the edge in terms of made me think about this prediction was when I remember at the Brazilian Grand Prix where the title was won. Perez obviously was battling Leclerc for second in the championship. Perez was in sixth position. His teammate Verstappen was right behind him in seventh. And I think Red Bull gave Max instructions to stay behind Perez for the sake of fourth and for the sake of second in the championship. He didn't do that. He passed him, and both drivers were not happy about that over the radio. That might push me over the edge, where basically there'll be a lot more situations like that, of where there's one day this is going to happen where basically Perez in first, when, for example, a title's already decided late in the season, Perez in first, Verstappen in second, and basically the team tells Max to stay behind him, hold position, and basically Verstappen goes, no, that's not me, and just goes past him for the lead. And yeah, it's mark my words, at some point that's gonna happen. That Perez will be in front, Verstappen in second, potentially maybe title on the line, or title's already wrapped up, for example, and the team tells him stay in position, and he ignores it because obviously it's Verstappen's team, and Red Bull will probably best ignore that, and then that would anger Perez to the point where basically says, "Nah, I want to leave." So yeah. But this one, as I said, this one's gonna be even bolder. I think Daniel Ricciardo. Yes, I know. Daniel Ricciardo will be Perez's replacement at Red Bull in 2024 if Perez decides to leave the team. Because there could be the possibility later in the season that these rumours about Perez leaving the team possibly could spark up again. You never know. I just love this. I think the paddock needs to have Ricciardo back. I mean, I know we have one race without him, but it doesn't feel the same really. It's probably, for us Aussies, probably going to take some time for us to get used to the fact that our new boy is Piastri and not Ricciardo, not Ricciardo, but hopefully he's there. Doesn't put smiles on our faces, really. Doesn't matter if it's with Red Bull or somewhere else. I think for me, and it'll be a massive story if this actually does happen, if Ricciardo does, if he shocks Red Bull with his testing pace. And yeah, and even Hamilton came out and said after it was announced that he was going to be Red Bull's reserve driver. He came out saying that he didn't want him, and I think he said something like his talent was wasted there. So that's why I believe that he would be there. So yeah, that was my fourth and final, and then my final bold prediction, number 5, is at some point we'll hear the news of a McLaren Honda third partnership in 2026. It's gonna be expected, really. We all know Honda is one of those teams that are going to be on the grid in 2026, an engine manufacturer. Of course, Red Bull signed a deal with Ford to be a part of the Red Bull powertrains. The question is, who's going to be partner with Honda? It's a no-brainer. It's McLaren. It's a no-brainer. To be honest, guys, that's all I could say. Mark my words. At some point during the year, it'll be announced that McLaren and Honda will partner up yet again. That's my way of saying it. But that is it for this. But that is basically it for this video. So yeah. So like this video. Share this to anybody who's an F1 fan. Comment down below. Who did you predict? Who was your preseason prediction to win the World Championship? And do you agree with my opinions about Ferrari, about Red Bull, about McLaren, everything? I'd love to hear your opinions. And one last thing, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labelled subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'm going to see you guys later, and wherever you may be, may the sun or the moon shine on you.